5. So in this part, there's going to be a lot of expansion, so be prepared for it. Ready, and now. Okay, so this nation declares itself the most powerful in the entire world, and decides it wants some expansion. So it goes up to claim this part, and luckily for them, they capture that entire peninsula, but then something shocking happens. And the thing shocking is a revolution. The people who want an absolute monarchy, who are supported by the king, unleash a full revolution, completely changing the borders. And as it spreads to the rest of the empire, they eventually have to surrender. So then the peace treaty is basically full annexation. Oh, that's bad. Basically, in summary, they're basically entirely wrecked. And it's more so now official that the government is now an absolute monarchy, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop it. Heck, if you whoever's watching this, it's so bad that no matter how good a leader is, they cannot fix what was going on in the empire. And because the colonies did not revolt, they still were no use to fight off against the growing anger. So then these are the borders. So then, wait, hold on, give me a second. So then this nation is starting to get power-hungry ideas. And what are those ideas, you say? Well, of course, it's colonization of Africa. So some boats suddenly come up on a little bit of land right here. At the bottom of Africa, it seems. So they land on it looking for food, and they find a variety of new food, resources. And once their voyage is done, more sailors and more people come to claim the land. And as they come, it's faster. The expansion is growing rapidly. So as the southern part of it appears a new continent, they call it, is founded, other nations begin trying to get to it, which includes this nation. Now this nation lands over here and calls it a third continent because they didn't realize it was just one gigantic continent. So its advance is halted for now because of there being limited supplies to conquer this area. So then it's very well established at this point, once they find out these two are linked, that there's only two for the common mind. For the average Joe, them seeing the news reports and seeing what's going on is pretty surprising, keeping that this land was not known a year before this. So then these are about the borders. And then this nation somehow gets to over here. So there's some ships docking, and they go through here and find their way over here. Realizing this is the British colony, they try to get as much as they can before the other nations appear. So this is about what their territory looks like. So then, it is very obvious what is going to happen. There's going to be war. And you're probably asking, well, who's going to be in the war? Is it going to be this nation? Well, my loyal viewer, you are wrong, as it's a very random war between this nation and this nation. Now this war is fought over the African territory, as this nation wants to expand more. So it officially invades, and as it invades, it doesn't occupy it, annexes all this territory. And once that is over, the war is over, and they lose their African possessions. So then, the Mediterranean is dominated by basically, the Byzantine nation, the Lurkel nation, Purple and Loch Ness Monster came to my mind for whatever reason. So the Lurkel Empire is expanding farther down the continent. As this empire realizes that it needs to expand if it wants to establish a strong empire. And as they literally are going very much down these continents, they are faced with an ultimatum from another nation. And you're probably asking, well, if this nation is so strong, why does it need to accept an ultimatum? Which is exactly what they ask themselves. So they decline the ultimatum given to them. And you're probably asking, well, what nation or nations gave them an ultimatum? Well, it was basically this nation, this nation, this nation, this nation, this nation, and this nation. So then they all team together to just invade, because they do not want this nation expanding into their territory. So why do they have to just stand and let it happen? So then these kingdoms, empires, republics, democracies, whatever their ideology is, they all unite that they hate this nation. And they try to capture as much land as possible before they collapse. So then they officially surrender, and there's a very obvious peace treaty made, which includes them being basically dissected. If their empire's territories are distributed from nation to nation. That wasn't supposed to happen. They choose what they want and they take it. Now there are some nations who want more, and you guessed it, more. Some nations think they deserve more. Other nations think they deserve nothing. But if there's one thing that's true, It's that this nation, the Lurple Empire, is carved up. And as it loses most of its rich northern areas, it starts to have an economic decline. It's completely split in two, as the stronger half is here, but the more economically dependent. The empire is more. What just happened? Anyways, the nation is more economically dependent on this area. So basically, by just taking some areas, they basically technically collapse the whole empire. So back down here, there's more expansion. And with expansion, there comes fighting. And as the casualties keep piling up for this empire by fighting a lot of tribes that already live there, it's very bloody, to say the least. So then they land in modern-day Madagascar. Well, that's all they think there is. It's just a small island, they think. And then they start to expand more, and you guessed it, more. So then the only nation that is halting their expansion is this nation. As it takes more territory, there is a realization of what is going on in the nation. That did not make sense whatsoever, but okay. And another thing, there's a color change. Cool. So basically, it changes from this color to this color. I know, really cool. That was so needed for the story to progress. Oh my goodness, it's the same color as another nation. Its colors decided to be this color, as it mostly represents the position it is in Europe. It's mostly to hold its position as a strong nation. And that's what it's known for, and that's what it does. Pretty effective color to describe it. So as they expand more and more of the territory becomes occupied, and more of the territory becomes, and more of their territory they find reveals to be very rich in resources. And as the economy starts to make a rise in the nation, it is at a gold age. It is at a I can really not speak today. It is at an economic golden age. So then it declares war on another nation, just to show how good it is. Inwood fails miserably. But then they keep going, and then they actually win the war. Now the peace treaty is basically very, very simple. They just take a small piece of land till you get to about here, or then they take all this. And once they take all of that, they take a lot of rich northern area that was built up by the Lurple Empire. So then the Lurple Empire tries to challenge this nation. And with this struggling Lurple economy against the already against the already strong empire, they start to make pushes with the best and all of their strength, but then they lose the war easily once they get their capital captured. And that's not where they stop. They take the whole peninsula till they go down here. And that's where they finally stop. The peace treaty has been commenced. It takes this land, very Sigma. It takes this little island, very Sigma. It makes a new nation that's independent and not under them, very Sigma. So then these are the borders. And the Lurple Empire is absolutely destroyed. All of its pride is gone. They literally released the last economic great area. And now parts of the empire are also wanting independence, such as a territory that breaks away. That is located right here. And then parts of the empire really start to break away. It's like a shattered piece of, it's like a window. Once it's broken, the glass keeps shattering and shattering. You can break it into more pieces. But then it gets even more complicated. So then there's a war declared on. So then there is a quote-unquote liberation war made by this nation to gain more territory, basically. So then they invade this empire. The Lurple Empire just basically cannot withstand another war. So then they just let them roam around till they want peace. And then, surprisingly, another nation joins this war. This nation. But because this nation is much more powerful, they cannot let this nation roam around. But it is too late and they have to surrender. So then the peace treaty is not simple at all. I know I say simple a lot, but it's not simple. So in the peace treaty, there's a lot of demands made that cannot be achieved simply, which are met with even harsher demands. Most notably these ones, where they basically carve up territories. And then they officially take this territory, which basically just means that the Lurple Empire is done. It is no longer a strong player in Europe. It's split into 3 pieces, and it just cannot withstand anything anymore. It's basically just collapsing at its own hands, and cannot even withstand another war, another revolution. So the final blow done are technically 2 revolutions, because there is a giant one over here that succeeds and takes all of this territory. And then there's a second one right over here that takes all this territory. So in retrospect, it's basically taking off the enclaves they have, which basically makes some interesting borders. Oh, how could I forget? In the revolution, they also just completely take this territory. And then this empire is starting to look like a lot like the Ottomans. But it is not the Ottoman Empire. It is the Lurple Empire. The land that once controlled literally half of Europe, half of southern Europe, up to here, all the way down here, all the way up here, all the way down here, all the way across here, and still controls this territory over here. It's slowly collapsing because of just all the issues it has. So then basically this empire commences with their leader being overthrown and a new empire being established under a new emperor who actually cares about what's going on. And he doesn't just care about just letting his empire go. He actually starts to care about his empire. He starts to grow its economy. And then in the end, he starts to he actually starts to improve his empire. Well, over here, this dark purple nation actually connects all of its African colonies, revealing that it is just one big continent. Oh, not about this area. They still think that's a continent itself. So then, this is the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed, and bye!